What's going on? It's your boy Sermon at Sermon's Domain on Twitter. Um, Last time we talked, man, we talked about the documentary too. I said that I really wasn't feeling it. I felt I was very disappointed in it, and you know, even after listening to it after that review, I still feel the same way. I know some people in the comments said I was crazy and bugging. This is his best album since Doctor's Advocate, but I gotta say that documentary 2.5 would be his best album since Doctor's Advocate. I'm really enjoying this album because it fits into what made the documentary special. I'm not saying this is better than the documentary or even on the same level, but if anything was going to be called the documentary 2, I definitely feel like 2.5 is that because um, one of the quotes that I was looking at from the game was that he said that he looked at his debut album and he realized like the flaws with it and how he would never make a song like this or do that in a song, little things like that that artists look at. Naturally he can't go back and change it, so with the documentary 2.5 I feel like he kind of aims to deliver some of the stuff that he did on his debut album, but in a different way. You're not getting the same washed over material as before. He retells like the intro, which has Sway doing an interview. It's called New York. It's reflecting on like the whole Game versus 50 Cent thing, where it started and how everything really popped off. And I thought that was a nice setting because a lot of people might not know that story. Just like that, they know that 50 Cent and G Unit and Game were beefing for a long time, but they don't know like that exact story, that precise, that just like that. And it's only 2 minutes long, so it sets the tone for the album. And then I feel like this second disc is much more political and is centered around street tales and Game's personal life, like on from Adam, he kind of talks about like his life before rapping, getting shot, being in that coma and all that stuff. But he tells it in a way that's like it doesn't feel like he's just rehashing what he's told in the past. It sounds like a really good new song, and that's why I like from Adam. I feel like Gang Bang Anyway was another standout. It has J Rock and Schoolboy Q on it, and Q's been on a run lately. He's been murdering these guest features, so I'm excited for his next album. And J Rock, J Rock, he doesn't disappoint when it comes to like guest features. I don't think. And that's also to say that the game, didn't slouch either. He kind of throws in some gang history here and there. So it gives the listener something they may never have known, like the origins of the Bloods and Crips, little tidbits like that really work on the album, and he does a lot of that, not just the gang culture, but just like his life, culture, and all that stuff in general. It's a very more personal album than the documentary too. Um, I also like the fact that he put YG and Problem on the same song. I don't know if they were, in the studio together, if they knew about it prior, but considering the two were beefing in the past, I look at it like it's kind of like a big deal because maybe that'll, kind of bridge the gap between the two and, get some work. They both make really good club music. And if they came together, I feel like they can make something really strong. So, maybe that'll happen in the future. But for now, just seeing them, on the same record was a big deal to me. Maybe bigger deal than many people will realize or even look at. Like Father Like Son 2, probably one of the most emotional moments on the album because the game has his two sons, um, back once again, like Father Like Son. Harlem was on that back in 2005. Now he's all grown up now, and just having your two sons on there and reflecting on how he had to really work hard to provide the life that he wanted for them. It was a good record, and I think you could have closed the album out right then and there. It would have been perfect to me. Um, Cause there's El Chapo, which is a bonus track. I didn't really like it when it leaked, and I didn't feel like it really fits into the whole project here. But Life, if you exclude El Chapo, Life is the one that ends the album right after Like Father Like Son 2. And you know, it's not a bad record either, but you know, Like Father Like Son 2 definitely could have ended the album. um One of the things, man, that really, you know, he uses a lot of guest features, and I feel like some of them just kind of get lost. Like on Outside, he has E40, Marcus Black, and Little E, but you know, they all have kind of minor roles. It just doesn't feel like they needed to be there. It's one of those records that you just kind of overlook because everything else on the album is really good. And I felt that way with Moment of Violence too. You know, King Mez, JT, and John Connor on that record. You know, the Aftermath crew, but you know, again, it doesn't feel like it adds anything compared to that. Especially when we had a record like My Flag / The Homies right before it, which had like everybody from the West Coast. You got J305, Ty Dolla $ign, Scheme, AD, RJ, Mitchie Slick, all these people, Joe Moses. You have all these people, and you know they're all showing out. They all have something to prove, man. And that was another standout record. Naturally, and I can't believe I didn't mention this earlier, Anderson .Paak. He has, you know, the first two songs. He's on the first two songs, and I don't know. I just really like him as an artist. I like what he does on, you know, these two records. They were definitely standouts, you know, as well as like The Ghetto with Nas or Will I Am. But I don't have to talk much about The Ghetto just because you know what to expect from Nas. Nas has been on a roll with his guest features, and you know, you just know to expect something good out of it. You're not gonna get like a whack verse out of Nas, and you know, Game is gonna spit, you know, to try to match that level. But overall, I really feel like the documentary 2.5 is the album that he should have made and just delivered this album. I don't need the documentary 2. I just want 2.5, and I feel like 2.5 is definitely going to stay with me a lot longer. Um, but overall, you know, I commend him for, you know, even doing a double album in, you know, 2015. The attention spans of people are so short that, you know, to give us 38 songs and, you know, it's just an amazing feat. And, you know, it looks like he's on track to sell, you know, pretty well with disc 1, almost 100,000 copies first week. And I'm sure, you know, 2.5 is going to do that or even more depending on, you know, the reception. I feel like the reception for this is definitely a lot stronger. So, you know, we'll see. But definitely let me know your thoughts on the documentary 2.5 in the comment section below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, share the video, follow me on Twitter at Sermons Domain. And as always, I appreciate your time. Thank you for watching, and until next time, peace.